Hi guys, today I'm here to chat about my favorite foundations from 2018. If you missed my Best in Beauty video, I will link to that one down below. I just filmed it actually. I switched out my lipstick, okay? I'm not a monster, but I'm going to talk about all the foundations that I could not stop reaching for 2018. Not all of them launched, I guess now last year, but they're definitely all the foundations that I continually went back for more. So let's go ahead and get started. In these types of best of roundup videos, I always get asked the question, but what's the best one? And the reason I'm listing all of these are because they're all my favorites for different reasons. And I want to give you all the information possible to make the most informed decision. So whether it is something like a shade range, because if I come out and say you need to buy this Chanel foundation and you don't want to spend $85 on a foundation or it only comes in 7 shades, that's of no use to you. So that's why I like to give different options as a beauty junkie myself. A lot of the time I don't have one that's the best. It just depends on, you know, the day, the occasion, what my skin is doing, etc, etc, etc. So keep that in mind as I go through each foundation. But that being said, I will choose a top foundation for you because I know I'm gonna get the question anyways. So I will let you know. You know what? I'm gonna save it till the end. But let's go ahead. The rest of them come in no particular order. But the one I'm wearing right now is the NARS Natural Radiant Long Wear Foundation. I love this one. I reviewed this at the end of 2017, I believe, when my skin was in such a bad place. I had crazy cystic acne. I was very oily. My skin, it was painful, it hurt, and when I put this on, my skin actually looked good, which that means a lot. It has a beautiful natural finish, but it is still super full coverage without being really heavy. I find it does a really good job kind of balancing between being natural coverage and still, or not sorry, natural coverage, natural finish, and still having a really beautiful full coverage. NARS has a great shade range. I wear Syracuse in all of their shades, so I have reviewed every single one of these foundations. I will link them all down below so you can actually see it for yourself if you'd like to see it in action. But this was an incredible foundation and one that I really liked to wear when I was going to an event, when I knew I was going to be face to face with people and I wanted to have something full coverage, but I didn't want it to look full coverage. This was what I reached for. Another foundation that I discovered at the end of 2017 that I wore for like the first half of 2018 is from Physicians Formula. This is their Healthy Foundation, and I was scared about this one because it just sounded a little bit too dewy. It talks about brightening, etc, etc. But what I was so surprised when I used this was that it actually stuck around on the skin so nicely. I would say it has about a medium coverage, beautiful natural skin-like finish, and again, I used this a ton when I had very bad cystic acne and I didn't want to put a lot on my face. It's almost the opposite. Like, you'd think if you had a bunch of big bumps on your face you want to cover them up, but my face, it was just so painful, it was so uncomfortable, and makeup just didn't look good on my face. So this was something I definitely reached for when I did have to wear makeup because it just looked so natural on the skin. It didn't feel heavy. It had a beautiful finish. SPF of 20 in here, and they do recommend it for all skin types, and I know that I encouraged a lot of you to try it because I know that you'd probably be a little hesitant like myself, and it seems like a lot of you really liked it as well. Another foundation that really took me by surprise, or just kind of delighted me because I enjoyed it so much, it's the Rimmel Lasting Finish Breathable. So they have a lasting finish already, and I have never tried that. This is their breathable formula. It says it has medium coverage and a 25-hour wear. I of course did not test it out for 25 hours, but I really love this. Again, this was another one that I reached for when I knew I was going to be out in public. I would say it has a medium coverage. Again, in this review, I had a lot of acne on my face, so you could really see it being put to the test, but beautiful natural finish. This, for me, 2018 was the year of natural finishes. 2017 was like matte, full coverage, like cake her on. 2018 was like what's natural, has great coverage, and is long wearing, and a lot of these foundations tick all of those boxes. So this really impressed me, super comfortable to wear. I actually liked the concealer that this comes with as well. It's not my absolute favorite, but I don't tend to like a lot of drugstore concealers, so when I do like one, I like to point it out. I thought it was good, but I definitely recommend you go check out this review because I thought it looked incredible. Let's talk about a foundation that I hated, now I love. This foundation is definitely more matte and more full coverage. It is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Foundation. I reviewed this the day it launched in Canada in stores, and my shade was off. My face was super oily. I found it kind of patchy and it oxidized. I did not really like it. Like, I liked it at the time when I reviewed it, but then I found myself never reaching for it again because the shade was off and I just didn't want to mess around trying to find my shade because I have a lot of foundations that I really love. But I decided to revisit it this year, and it is so beautiful. For something matte and full coverage, it really does look smooth on the skin. I won't say it's natural, definitely in comparison to the other foundations that I've mentioned so far, but for a matte full coverage foundation, it doesn't look heavy or cakey on the skin. I know this is kind of divided a lot of people. Definitely anybody with dry skin didn't seem to like it that much. I'm hoping she's going to launch another formula. She does have the concealers coming up. I don't totally know the date that this video is coming out, but she does have new concealers, powders, and has expanded the range on this, which is so exciting. So I actually do really like this now. I tend to use a more moisturizing primer with it and try not to put too much powder on it, but it just looks so freaking flawless on the skin without it being heavy. So at the times that I do want to wear something more full coverage, which wasn't as often this year, reaching for this for sure. And I have 2 reviews on this, one where it didn't match, one where it matches. I recommend you check out the more recent one. If you're looking for matte and full coverage from the drugstore, it is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop Foundation. There's actually a concealer that has launched for this as well. I haven't tried it yet. Again, in my review, didn't have the right shade, but NYX had invited me to come into the store, test it out basically before anybody else, but they didn't have all the shades, so I ended up taking home one that didn't really work for me, but I still wanted to review it. So I'll link to that review down below, but I have since used this in other videos, so I'll link to the one where I'm wearing caramel so you can actually see it. But this is great. When I actually reviewed this, I didn't even set it with a powder. Again, similar to the Fenty, you're getting tons of coverage. It's matte, but it's not heavy or cakey. I really love using a wet sponge with kind of more matte full coverage foundations, which is something I never really did before. I became a sponge girl this year. Things are changing. Who knows what kind of gal I'm going to become in 2019, but really like this one. It has a great shade range. It's really long lasting on the skin. You don't need to worry about it moving around or slipping around, but at the same time it doesn't feel tight and heavy on the skin. So I feel like matte foundations have come a long way because they were real heavy and cakey for a while there, those thick textures. This one is beautiful. Another great drugstore matte foundation is from CoverGirl. They're matte made. I've always really enjoyed CoverGirl's foundations. I recommend them all the time. The only downfall was their shade ranges. They were okay ranges in the term of the number of shades, but the undertones that they offered were quite pink for a little while there, and they were always just a little bit off. So I feel like they did an incredible job with launching the matte made because they had a ton of different undertones and just a great shade range in general. I love that it comes with a pump similar to the NYX as well. Always appreciate that. They had some big claims on this foundation, like it's transfer proof, and then the ads, they were doing all kinds of stuff. In my review, I have a fake boyfriend made out of a pillow, which I hug for a transfer test, so I'll link that down below if you want to see it in action. But I think this is a great foundation. It's not as full coverage as the NYX, but it does have a beautiful matte, I'd say natural matte finish on the skin, and it's medium to full buildable, not cakey, doesn't oxidize. Again, I will link to all my reviews down below because I can't go through like every single point for each foundation. We'll be here all day. I just kind of want to highlight all the great points, but really love this one. And the shade T30 I feel like is a good match for me. There's so many shades that I almost had trouble matching myself, but it's kind of a good problem to have. I've got a cult favorite here that I was late to try but so impressed by. It is the Lancome Tinty Doll Ultra Wear Foundation. There's a reason people love this so much. It's similar to the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I feel like people who wear this just continue wearing it, and I can absolutely see why. I don't find it to be 100% super duper full coverage when I compare it to other things that are really full coverage, but I still feel like I get beautiful coverage out of this. It is matte, and most of all, it is so long lasting. It does not budge. It's gorgeous. You're getting an SPF of 15 in there, tons of different shades. It claims to be transfer resistant. I don't find anything is 100% transfer resistant in my opinion. You're putting on and off a white hoodie or something, like is gonna happen. Also, you're gonna put a bunch of other stuff on your face. So I don't really care about claims like that. I do want it to stick around my face, and I mean, I guess it's better to claim it than not. But in my opinion, similar to concealer, nothing is 100% crease proof, nothing is 100% transfer proof. But that being said, it does stick around on the skin for so long. It has a gorgeous finish, really beautiful coverage, and I was just so late to trying this one, but I'm glad I finally did. The most high-end foundation to chat about today is the Dior Face and Body. Really love this one. I've really loved all of Dior's foundations. I've reviewed Air Flash, Forever Undercover. That almost made it into this video. It was a toss-up between the two, honestly. I really like them both. And then I really love this one too. I really like this one, especially because you're getting 1.6 fluid ounces in here. So high-end price tag, but you're getting a foundation and a half and then some. The average foundation is 1 fluid ounce. This is 1.6. So although it does have a high-end price tag, when you compare it to other high-end products at this price, you actually are getting more product in here, which is deceiving because it comes in a tiny package. But if you ever hear somebody say like, oh, it's a tiny package, there's nothing in here, and they've actually never checked the back, like, do your research on the amount of product that is in a product, because the number and the packaging can be so deceiving. This has a great shade range. I have never actually tested it on my body because that's not a world that I want to get into. It seems like way too much work, but really love this for the face, and it is comes in a bunch of great shades. It also is a very travel-friendly packaging considering how much you're getting in here. I'm assuming they may have had makeup artists in mind if you're carrying a ton of different foundations. This is more product than normal in a smaller packaging, which is great. This foundation took me by surprise. I expected to hate it because I hated the ColourPop liquid oh so much. I expected the stick to be a mess, but it absolutely was not, and I have been using it a ton since I reviewed it. Very creamy, very blendable. I use a sponge with this, which I don't with many stick foundations, but it's also not too creamy in the sense that some sticks can just be a little too heavy, creamy on the skin. I was just blown away by this. Medium coverage, incredibly natural skin-like finish. I love the shade match. It's 10 bucks. You're getting a decent amount of product in here, 9.5 grams, which is about the average size of a stick foundation. Really impressed with this. Only downfall is, you know, especially if you're Canadian, it's a little bit hard to shade match yourself. I always recommend doing your research on YouTube, finding people who look like you. That's the only way I'm ever able to match myself, and even still, I have a hard time finding people who look like me, especially as a foundation launches, who like people who receive the PR or might get their hands on it early, almost never have a similar skin tone to me. So that's why I'm here. That's why I created my YouTube channel. That was a big part of it. So if you are able to find your shade, I really like this one. Now you probably know what is in my #1 spot, and again, the rest of the foundations that I mentioned were in no particular order. I kind of went drugstore high-end, but this one is my favorite. If I had to choose a favorite of the year, this is what I've been reaching for all the time, because some of these other foundations were like, oh, if I want something full coverage, or if I want something that I want to wear in public, or if I want something, you know, because I'm a little bit high maintenance when it comes to foundations. I have like my little buckets that I put them in. So this one was one that I reached for all the time, and I traveled with. If I travel with something, that means, you know, we're in a very serious relationship. It is the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin Full Coverage Foundation. The reason I love this so much, and that's not to you know, talk crap about any of the other foundations, because I love all of those and I would gladly wear them all again, and I continue to wear them. But the reason that this is coming in my #1 spot is it kind of does all of the things that I need it to do. If I want it to be more light coverage, if I want it to be more full, it always looks natural. It always lasts so incredibly long. It looks great in person, looks great in video, etc, etc. And that's not to say, again, that none of these other foundations can't really do all of the same things, but this just really stood out to me. Something about the shade match, the way it wore on my skin, the versatility, how it blended out, the convenient packaging, it just all really got me, and I really got attached to this foundation, and it was one that I continued to wear over and over again, and still will. So if you want to know my #1 recommendation, it is this, but I still absolutely love all the other ones, but Makeup Forever really stole my heart this year. So those are my favorite. Let me know if you picked up any of those foundations on my recommendation from the reviews, and like I said, if you want any more details, I will have the reviews listed down below so you can see things like flash photo tests, before and after, application, all that good stuff. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!